the same thing. It's the last Thursday of the month again. And you know what that means. It's the Good Man in the Mirror Show. And we spell it Thee because it's a personal journey. So look, tonight we have a very special guest. She's on her way in. But before we get to that, we do what we always do. We give kudos to the host. And even before we get ready to do that tonight, I want you guys to send up prayers for Rodney Grimes and his family because he's not here tonight because he has some serious family matters to take care of. And we just keep him in your prayers. And you know we love the brother, and we send that out to you, Rodney. Much love.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And we just hope the best for you and your family. God is with you, and you're gonna get through. And we with you. So tonight's show, we're gonna get to it in a few, but we're our guest is here. We're on the air, young lady. We're on the air. We are definitely on the air right now. You're live. You're live. But before we get into introducing you, we got to introduce the panel as we always do. So I'm gonna throw the ball over to my man, my right hand man, and he cutting to the basket. So I'm shooting him a bounce pass to Mr. Nate Jenkins, y'all.
Oh, he used my government name. It's all good.
That ain't your real name. Come on now.
Nate Jenkins in the house. I want to welcome everybody back to Man in the Mirror. We at a new location. We building out as we growing. And tonight's show the topic is domestic violence. It ain't love. And we have in the studio with us.
First, you ain't.
Okay, we have in the studio with us Dynamite young lady. But before I get to her,
okay.
slow down, man. I'm gonna bounce past this back. You know what I'm saying, to my main man, Mr. Boo Jones.
I'm just gonna tap it back to him.
So we rotate every month. So this month the topic is one that I believe that's not addressed enough, right? And has some stigma. I know a lot of folks who go through these types of situations may feel like they don't have a way out. They know the way in, but they may not have a way out. And they may be in the middle and experience it now and feel like it's no hope at the end. So I've met this young lady right here, and I'm gonna give her an opportunity to introduce herself in a moment. But I met her in a leadership program, right, that we attended and graduated from.
Yes.
At Howard University. And what I know of this young lady is stunning, of course, but the brains, right, outspeaks the beauty, right? And her personality just shines through. And I know that she is
I seen that come
a
through
survivor, man. I'm talking about a shero.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Overcomer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Victorious.
Yes.
And all
Yes.
of that.
Yes,
So
yes,
I'm
yes,
going to
yes.
give y'all what we call her. So before I give your name, I want you to, of course, introduce yourself. Tell us a little about who you are, what you do, as much as you like to share in that area. And then just tell us a little bit about your situation.
Hold on,
right?
you gonna give her a name or she gonna give her a name?
Hold on. Tell us a little bit about the situation, and then we're just gonna have a casual conversation. We got another caller coming in at 7:15.
Okay.
We all gonna join in.
Awesome.
So I'm gonna give y'all Dr. Pepper.
Okay, hi everyone. Happy Thursday. My name is Pepper, and it is so nice to be on this amazing podcast. I am very honored to be a part of this wonderful thing that is going on. So again, my name is Pepper. I have a lot of different titles. So I have 5 amazing children. I'm a mother of 5. My oldest
Bless.
daughter is 15. Her name is Heaven. My second daughter is 12. Her name is Valencia. My son is 7. His name is Kevin. We call him KJ.
Oh,
I have a
KJ.
2-year-old daughter. Her name is Serenity, and I have my 1-year-old
Serenity.
daughter, Destiny.
Oh,
And
right.
Destiny.
So that's one of my titles.
So-
And we're
we
gonna
got
talk about those names.
Yeah, sound like we
later
got
on.
spiritual
Yeah,
towards it. Yeah, yeah.
They do,
We'll talk
they
about
do.
those later on.
Yeah.
They do. So
Tell us a little bit about what you do, who you are, all that.
absolutely. So I work full time at DC Superior Court. I am a courtroom clerk. I also attend Howard University as a full time student.
Woo.
My aspirations is to become an attorney and then eventually a judge and then a politician one of these beautiful days.
All right.
I have experienced a lot of ups and downs in my life, but I am an overcomer. I am a survivor. I do not allow those things to define me. I let them fuel me. They add fire
All right.
to pepper that I
There
already
you go.
am.
There you go.
So
Spice.
I am a domestic violence survivor.
Okay.
I had a very, very harsh relationship with my second daughter's father. He was very verbally, physically abusive, mentally abusive. He initially just started out with the verbal, and then it graduated over time to it being more physical. He spit in my face, hit me with flowers, knocked coffee on me, put cigarettes out on me, peed on me. He's done a lot of different things that honestly took me to a breaking point where I almost had a nervous breakdown. I couldn't function. I couldn't tell my family only because I didn't want them to. Because this is my second baby's father, right? So I was like, I got to make this relationship work. He came from an amazing background. He has both his parents. He had a degree. I'm working on my degrees. So I'm like, hey, this is the person I need to be with. He came from a 2-parent household, so that was something that I wanted to have because my parents, unfortunately, went through multiple divorces. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna break this, right? An amazing person, but a horrible person at the same time, just to be perfectly candid. Now, I got too much of the abuse, so once we finally broke up, before I started working at the courts, I went to the domestic violence branch and filed a protective order. Had to provide documentation, proof, various different things, which was very heart-wrenching. But I had to do it, So I went ahead and did that. They awarded me a 2-year protective order. However, we was going through a custody battle as well. So that information, my attorney at the time, which she was an amazing person, but that was also the reason that I pivoted to wanting to become an attorney because I felt that she didn't advocate the way that I wanted her to for me. And I was like, I don't want anybody to ever feel this way, ever, ever. So she decided to bring the domestic violence stuff to the family court, the domestic relations branch, of which this is when my family found out about everything that was going on. Because she said, hey, we have to tell your truth. You're going to be on the stand. And it was situations that I didn't tell my parents in advance. I just said, hey, y'all just brace yourself. You're probably going to hear some stuff that you ain't realize. Because I've always been able to keep a smile, put a mask on, because I didn't make excuses of why I had black eyes, different things going on. But he was actually abusive at the job, too, because that's where we met. So it was a situation where it was very crazy, very chaotic, of which my parents, my sister was there because they wanted to be a support system for me while I was providing my testimony, of which that's when I had to expose that all these things were transpiring, which almost, like I said, spent me into a point where I almost had a mental breakdown. I think I actually did have a mental breakdown, y'all, to be perfectly honest, because it was like going through that, but still wanting to be there because, like I said, I didn't want to have another broken family. I wanted to make this situation work, and I was willing to compromise and take the abuse because it was all for the fact of having a family. So that's what I went through. And after he and I broke up and we went through that situation, I said, I want to be an attorney. I want to be a judge. What do I need to do? Let me look up some stuff as far as career aspirations. I went on YouTube because I saw the lady that was right beside the judge. And I was like, what is she? I was oblivious to the courtroom clerk position.
Right.
Because I want to do what she's doing. That's going to give me that footstep into the court system. So I YouTubed it and I seen what the woman was doing. And I was like, okay, I can do this. So I went ahead and took a test. They said, okay, we want you to come in. And I initially started out in the family court division, and then I just transferred recently this year to the domestic violence But before I was able to do all of that, I had to go to therapy, y'all. Like I had to
Say that.
break down. But I got a therapist that looked like me too. I was like, I gotta break down and tell you guys, like, listen, I need to heal, because in order for you to hear all this traumatic stuff day in and day out, because individuals that come into the court system, this is probably their worst day ever, right? And outside of people coming to the marriage bureau, because that's like a happy moment. But whenever you're dealing with these situations, you have to heal, because I didn't want to constantly be triggered every time I heard something crazy going on, right? So this allowed me to be someone that has an empathetic ear, provide comfort to the individuals that are coming in, saying, hey, you know what, I understand. I don't have to tell them my story like I'm
Right.
telling y'all, but I'm like, I understand exactly, because I've been on both sides, the working domestic violence situation and now working in this court system. I want to help you get through this by even just just having a smile, just saying, hey, if you need some tissue, whatever, just being a positive light. But I just say that if for anybody that's going through it, I understand. Just really do a soul search, because the thing is, in the domestic violence situation, it's either a couple's the person can change, which is sometimes extremely rare, but the person can change, or either one of you end up in a situation where someone actually dies, or you allow so much traumatic that it breaks you, that you can't even function, and you are toxic going forward.
All right. Okay, we got another guest on the line. Hello, hello. Who we have on the phone?
Hi, how's it going?
Hey, is this our second guest?
Yes.
All right, all right. So we are in the studio with the future now, Miss Pepper, Dr. Pepper, as we
Yes,
like to
yes,
call her,
yes.
Dr. Pepper.
as
Yes,
along
Dr.
with
Pepper.
Boo Jones, and we're missing one of our other co-hosts, the Sage, Mr. Rodney Grimes. But we have a caller on the line who is also a survivor of domestic violence. So, young lady, what we would like you to do, first of all, I want to let everyone know that you can call in to our show to speak with the guests, as well as make comments and the like. That phone number, and we're going to start taking calls around 7:30. That phone number is 240-494-2289. But the caller that we have on now, like Dr. Pepper, is also a Victoria survivor. So, caller, would you tell us, you don't have to give us your name if you don't want to, but tell us what you do as far as your work, your education, how many kids you have, and then tell us a little bit about your situation and how you're transferring from it.
Welcome, Queen.
Caller?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. So I am a mom of 5 children. I just recently graduated school. I just finished school to become a registered nurse. Um,
All right.
so I'm sorry, what was the other, I'm sorry, can you
Just
start over?
yeah,
I'm a little
just
nervous.
I understand. So just tell us a little bit about what you experienced and what you're doing now to handle it, and how you persevered.
Okay. Pretty much, with abuse and being a survivor in general, you have to just make a conscious effort within yourself to know when enough is enough for you. Just identifying your breaking point, and just knowing that it only takes one time. There's no scale to say, you know it's not 5 times, it's not 20 times. It only has to be one time for you to be in a situation of domestic violence. Um, People only change when they want to change. It's never when the changes that you want for them. So you gotta kind of want to do the work for yourself to leave that situation. Um, I was in a situation with my husband where I was, being controlled and abused in so many different facets, financially, emotionally, physically. Um, and once I started identifying that it was actually abuse, I started pulling away, unplugging from serving that relationship. I stopped you know, giving him power over me. And I started giving myself back power. I started going back to church. I started therapy. Therapy was really actually therapeutic. We're in a society now where, you know, self-help is really important. And I didn't realize that I needed a lot of help for myself to leave this situation. I didn't realize that I was um, broken in a sense.
Go ahead. We're with you, caller.
Take your time. Are you still there, caller?
I don't know if we lost the caller or not. Is the line still open? Okay. Hello, caller. Are you still there?
It may be a little bit trying if she revisiting. It may be a little rough, you know.
Yeah.
So this is you know, the trauma. The trauma is very, very real.
Well, what I would like to say is, being a survivor of anything as traumatic as domestic violence, because from my understanding, and I've been on the other side, right, as a male who experienced some domestic violence, right? Most people think it's just perpetrated male to woman. Sometimes it could be just the other thing, right? Woman to man. And violence is not always physical. As the caller had said, it could be mental, financial, any type of hostage situation that's not good in a relationship. But what I do know is that it's an affair of the heart that really keeps you from exposing it.
Yes.
Because if you're anything like me, you want to be vested in your relationship. And you want those around you to see your vestation, right? We're in love, and I can't show you the black marks
Right.
that come from our broken relationship, right? So I'm gonna put on the good face.
Right.
You know, if I got a black eye, I'm gonna put on some makeup. I hit the door or
Yes.
whatever. You know what I mean? For me as a male, you know, it may have been mental, verbal, right? Sometimes physical, because like me, I was taught not to hit a woman. You know what I mean? So sometimes women take advantage of that, or sometimes they just emasculate. You know, talk to you any kind of way. You know, verbal abuse is just as bad as physical, because one thing about verbal abuse, it could be very reoccurring.
Yes.
Where, you know, physical might leave a bruise and definitely a mental scar. But that verbal thing, for me, just resonates and rings in your ear over time and all that good stuff. So I know that it's difficult. But I'm going to ask you, Dr. Pepper, what was your fire? What was the thought that you had when you say, I gotta stop this, I gotta get away?
Because it was a situation where I felt that I was going to hurt him.
Okay.
I called my mom one day and I said, Mom, if I go to jail because I killed this person, will you make sure that my kids come see me? And she said, listen, you better not do that. And I was just like, Mom, I'm just tired of it, because at this point I never hit back. I would just take the abuse. But it was that conversation that I was willing to lose my livelihood, because it was like I had reached a point where I'm not taking any more abuse, like, period. So I think that was my turning point from saying, okay, which it was my mom, was, you know, she was my angel that told me, like, hey, no, ma'am, this is not the kind of relationship you want to lead. You don't want your kids to have to see their mom behind, you know, and miss so many different amazing moments in their lives, right? So that was the point, because it was a situation where I was like, okay, well, now I need to go and get protection, right? So that's when I was like, okay, now I'm gonna, but see, I didn't want to bring the courts involved. I didn't want to bring police involved, because there's so many of black males that are already being targeted by the judicial system, right? So I was like, no, we don't do that. We're just gonna just keep this in house. But it was a situation, in order to protect me, I had to go and say, hey, I need the courts to step in and put these parameters in place to where if he does violate it, he's going to go to jail. If he does try to hurt me, he's going to go to jail. So that's when I was like, hey, enough is enough at this point, because I can't take any more abuse, because it was just too much.
Understood. Totally understood. Now, our caller is still on the line. She was getting an echo, and she wasn't for sure if we could hear her. Caller, are you still there? We can hear you.
I can't hear.
Can you say something, caller, so we can make sure we can hear you? I know you can hear me.
I can't hear her. No, I can't hear her. I can hear him. I can't hear her.
Tell her to hang up and recall.
Okay.
That's how you
Caller,
do that.
can you hang the phone up and give us a call right back so we can make sure we got a clear connection, please? All right, I think she just hung up. She'll call back. There we go. Okay. All right, can you hear us now, caller?
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we
So-
can.
So let me intervene 1 second.
Well-
You guys both had 5 kids,
Uh-huh.
right? You guys both been through the same ordeal, right? One thing that you guys could share with each other that you like Nate was saying, that you put in play to overcome, to be the beginning of you coming out of this situation, because the viewers need to hear that this is possible, that you don't have to keep enduring something. I done been in a relationship where I said, I'm glad the girl left me, because she helped both of us. I said, if I could have left myself, I would have left.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, you don't have to put hands on people to be abusive. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just being absent, not taking care of your business is
Right.
abusive, right? I get it, So maybe you could share with the viewers, what you guys, the beginning point that you guys, what did you do in that with action? Because I know a lot of stuff happened before the action, but what did you do with action to put in play?
Yeah, let's see the caller. Caller, you want to answer that? Tell us a little bit about
Okay.
your process and how you kind of
So-
broke free.
For me, I would say my first action was, I actually had to call the police. And it wasn't calling the police in the midst of the chaos. It was once everything had settled the next day. And honestly, it was because my children was witnessing it. It had gotten to the point where it was no longer something hidden behind closed doors where I could just put on makeup or cover it up. It was now in front of the children. And when I started realizing that I'm creating a trauma on my children, it kind of sparked something in me that I have to, take action now. So I actually went to the police and initiated a claim against, my husband. And I had my toddler with me because I didn't have childcare at the time. And my toddler was in the police station explaining what he had witnessed to the police officer. So at that point, it was like, we don't even need you, Mom, to speak. We already have a case, and we're ready to press charges against him.
Wow.
So it was in that moment that, although I took action to go to the police station, they kind of turned the dial up for me, whoa, this is serious. And now we're gonna do our job to show you how, we're gonna protect you. And the young lady had mentioned before, I never thought to call the police because, I'm an African American. That is not something that I ever want any brother to be involved in behind, bars. So that was one of the stigmas that I was battling for so long. But when it came to just my children and, beyond just myself, I realized that I needed to take action. So going to the police, that was my breaking point. My kids seeing it and then going to the station.
Okay. Wow. So children play a big role, I see, in both of you guys' attitude.
I like to
towards
see her
protection.
answer
Yeah.
her part.
Go
of it.
ahead, Dr. Pepper.
As I mentioned, I had to go to the courts. I had to go to D.C. Superior Court and file a petition I had a lot of evidence and go through the whole process with the DC Superior Court. It was a contested matter, so we had to actually go to trial. And like I mentioned, I had to bring my evidence and everything, which I had a lot of stuff that was broken, had bruises. I had a lot of different things to provide them evidence, of which after the testimony from both he and I, the judge said, hey, yeah, she needs a protective order. So the ones in DC, they last for 2 years. I thought he was going to act right after the second years, but he didn't. So I had to go back the fourth year and apply again and got another one granted as well. So I actually ended up getting 2 protective orders only because, I needed to have some protection against him doing any type of bodily harm towards me.
Okay.
Okay.
Now let me ask you this, because I know a lot of times when domestic violence happens or any trauma in a couple, right? We want to protect our love interest. We want to protect our relationship sometimes blindly, okay, which means that it may happen multiple times before we get to that ending point. I don't suggest that for anyone. But the caller mentioned that her children were witnesses, and that kind of pushed the envelope. For you, Pepper, was this something that the children also saw?
Yes, so both of my, because I only had 2 children at the time. My other 3 didn't come yet. So I had my 2 kids. My oldest daughter witnessed it. My second daughter, because she was actually acting out in school, she would be very physically abusive towards. Since she was 3, I would get reports from the teachers, from the school. They would, because she would just hit kids whenever she was upset. They would have to isolate her and put her in a room by herself or take her to the security guard because she was a danger to her classmates. And it was even a situation when I was pregnant with my 3rd child, my son. I went on a field trip with her to the zoo, and she actually attacked her teacher in front of me. Wow. And that's how she, I guess it was a learned behavior. Yeah. So she felt like, hey, this is how I respond. I don't communicate. I'm just going to be physical because that's how her father. Skills, yeah, right. So I had to put my baby in play therapy. It was intense. We had to see multiple times a week. We had a plan in place. And, even to this day, she struggles with her emotions and her anger. She's still in therapy because, her father and I, we still co-parent. But it's a situation where I demonstrate love and you don't have to do that. We're going to talk this thing out. And that's not how the response is on the opposite end. So she's still struggling with how to communicate and not, be either verbally abusive or physically abusive. She's pulled a knife out on my daughter.
This helps. This affects the kids.
It does.
That's why I share my truth. Because that's the only thing we had. Like I said, that was with my first wife, 30 odd years ago. I was younger and I did not know how to be responsible. And not knowing how to be responsible is a stressful thing for the other partner. So that's what I was talking about in that sense. So definitely, there is hope for the person who don't bring their luggage, their good luggage to the relationship.
Yeah.
Because we all got luggage.
Right.
Yeah, but some stuff in there that's pretty good.
You got to unpack some of that stuff, though. Listen, you got to
we all got something there.
Now, I want to ask a question to both the caller and to Ms. Pepper. I know that for me, if I want a certain thing to happen in my life with another individual, I may look away from some key behaviors that were an indication of flags. Things to come.
Red flags.
I might think I can handle that little piece right there as long as it stop right there.
Right.
I'm gonna be all right. And if it gets worse, I can handle that because I want what I want.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about starting with you, Miss Pepper, then with the caller. Tell me a little bit about now in hindsight, some of the flags that you saw, so maybe some of the callers will be able to
That's good.
identify
That's a good one right there, Nate.
what's going on in their situation,
Good
if
one,
that's
Coach.
possible.
I know for me, the situation started, like I said, it was verbal. It was a situation where he would call me out of my name, just do that. And then it would be a situation where whenever he and I would break up, as I mentioned before, we worked together, I would always come and have a flat tire on my vehicle, right? So I had to go to HR because I didn't know who was doing it, but it would only happen when we would get into an argument at work. So the security guards at the job said, hey, park next to the cameras where the security guard can see your vehicle, and it stopped, right? So I'm like, I'm very friendly, so I don't have any beef with people, I don't think, right? So I'm like, this only happens whenever we're in when we have a disagreement. So that's how it started. And then when I got pregnant, that's when it really escalated, because at this point I had to stop talking to him for like 4 months while I was pregnant, because the verbal abuse was just not good, and I was already considered high risk, so I couldn't deal with any stressors. But then we got back together, and I would sleep, and he'd kick me. He would just do some of the most craziest stuff, right? And then it just continued. It just continued to be. He would, like I said, we worked together. He bought me flowers whenever we would have a altercation, a disagreement. He would buy me all these different coats, all these different things. He would buy me stuff. And then I got to a point where I'm like, I don't want anything, because it's not going to help. Because at first I'm like, okay, he loves me, I forgive him, and I take him back, and it's the same cycle. So at one point I was like, I don't want anything. So he got the flowers at work and smacked me in the face with them. You know,
This is an ongoing
it's
cycle.
an ongoing thing. It gets worse.
And most of us have seen this before.
Okay, caller, you want to tell us a little bit about, in hindsight, some of the things that you may have experienced that you kind of let go by, that you can look back now and say, oh, I should have saw that? Caller,
Man, lost her again.
did we lose you again, caller?
Well, we got to keep rolling.
Yeah, we got to keep rolling.
Tell her call back
I might
again.
inform her to please call her back. All right, give me 1 second.
So,
Okay.
this is like a lot of movies, and it's funny, but I just seen a movie with my wife
we're
the
gonna
other,
need him to answer.
other day. We got to call our man Fabian. That's the owner and the guys doing all the work.
So we gotta answer it. Give me a second. Let me see if I can answer that call for you.
So yeah, that's ongoing cycle. Yes, it's an ongoing cycle. So what I was saying, you see a lot of this in movies, right? And we think it's just isolated to entertainment. It's not. It's real.
Right.
A lot of those movies based on real, actual facts.
This is true.
And
All
most,
right, caller, we got you back.
and most time, that the abuser usually try to do things to make up. It's like a love hate.
Right.
It's like it's like I'm sorry.
Right.
And,
Right.
Yeah, but and then it's like a roller coaster.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Okay, caller, are you back with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so the question to you, I don't know if you heard it or not, was can you, in hindsight, look back and see some moments of behavior that you may have overlooked that was signals of the abuse to come? Do you remember
I'm sorry, I'm
anything
having a hard time hearing you. It's like super, it's breaking up.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Can you, in hindsight, look back over the time and see where you may have had some red flags, some activity from your spouse that you kind of overlooked because you figured maybe they small, I can deal with this, but they were indications of the abuse to come?
Yes, absolutely. You know, I had to come to terms to realize that love doesn't hurt, you know, and every relationship is complicated, but at any moment when someone is doing things intentional, whether it's a verbal, you know, slur, a physical, blunt, love doesn't hurt. So it was times where, you know, he would make comments that'll make me feel small or make me question myself or second guess a decision. And I didn't realize that that was a control or manipulation tactic to the abuse. It was times where I questioned, why is he so insecure? What am I doing wrong? Because I internalized a lot of his problems that he had within himself that he was projecting. So there was a lot of red flags that I ignored, but overall, it came down because I didn't have certain, the boundaries in the relationships. I didn't really identify boundaries. So when you don't put up a wall to say, hey, if you talk to me crazy, I'm going to leave, or, this is unacceptable. I didn't have any boundaries in place. I just loved him. And because I loved him so effortlessly without boundaries, he abused it. He had so much power in the relationship that it went over his head. And I thought that I was being a good wife by giving him the power, not realizing that I still should have had some power for myself.
Wow, that's a hell of a statement, particularly not to go down on domestic partner living, but when you make that vow, it's really depending on the individuals, right? It could be really a strong message to your heart to say, I'm supposed to be in this subservient, subordinate role, which may lead you to, say, well, maybe this is how it's supposed to be, But like you said, and like Pepper said, love ain't supposed to hurt.
True.
That was a great statement.
At no level.
That was a great statement, and man, you guys are very brave to be here tonight, and we thank you again. We thank you very much for coming here and sharing your truth.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, we ain't over with that. We got ways
I
to
just
go.
want, I just wanted to
Thank you for
interject
having
that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to interject that so you know that you definitely are appreciated, and people are
Definitely.
watching,
Definitely.
and you're doing some service work, man.
Definitely,
Awesome.
definitely. Now, I do have a question for you. Both of you ladies had stated that you got the authorities involved, right? The police.
Mm-hmm.
Were there ever times, and I'm sure there were, what did you do when you recognized it wasn't right, but you didn't get the police involved? What were some of the activities that you did that didn't work or didn't stop the abuse, but you thought they would? These are for our viewers and listeners that may be going through that situation. Look, I'm trying to fix it, but it ain't working. So tell us about that.
I know for me, I basically changed a lot of my personality. I'm very outgoing, very friendly. He would have issues with me talking to men, women, saying I'm being flirtatious, even at our job. I'm like, I love people. Also, I allowed him to get me a cell phone because he was like, okay, let's put it on the same bill. He didn't want me talking to my family.
Drop the caller. So thanks for calling back, caller.
He isolated me from talking to my friends, so in order to keep the conflicts down, I would just call my mom when I'm on the way to work or when I get a lunch break, or I just wouldn't talk to anybody when I was around him. I even allowed him to pick out my clothes. I allowed him to pick out the outfit.
Total control.
Total control, because I felt like, you know what, maybe I just need to conform to how he wants me to be, because I love this person and I feel like the love you will sacrifice and it'll make the situation better. But it didn't. It would just be a constant, something else he would find. It was never enough. It was nothing I could do to please him at all. And I mean, I tried everything. I wouldn't even talk a lot, and I love talking, right? So it was a situation where I just completely changed who I was, lost who I was, just in order to keep this person happy. And I felt like when I was in my home, I had to walk on shells because I never knew when he was going to blow up, when he was going to have these tantrums, because it wasn't a situation, because he would blow up in front of my family. Whenever after it came out, he would blow up in front of my children. He'd blow up in front of his family. So he'd blow up at work, so it wasn't a situation where he had certain times where like, oh, okay, I'm going to show out whenever everybody's gone. So I just wanted to always be the person that he wanted me to be, but that still wasn't enough.
So, caller, the question was, tell us about some of the things that you tried to do to make things better, but they didn't work. Can you give us a rendition or illustration of some things you
Yeah.
tried to do?
I tried reaching out to his family members because I was big on keeping the family image. So I did not want my family to be aware of the ugliness. So I thought, calling his mom or his dad would be, someone in his corner that would have his best interest. But I did not realize that some of his brokenness, in which why he was abusing me to begin with, stemmed from his own past and his own childhood. So I wasn't really seeking the right help from the right people. Also, I took over a lot of the responsibility because I thought he was doing certain things because of stress. Life is hard. The kids are, a lot to deal with. So I would overload my plate. And again, by taking over all those responsibilities, I was depleting myself. So I wasn't even aware to see the abuse because I was so exhausted from taking up so much responsibility, trying to lessen his load.
Wow.
And on top of that, with his behaviors, I noticed he was he was drinking a lot. So he was starting picking up on a lot of bad patterns that wasn't conducive to good mental health, that wasn't conducive to him being a good father or being, present in the home. He was becoming belligerent. These are things that was happening in the home that I was just covering up. Oh, he had a long day at work. He deserved a drink,
Substance.
Oh, the kids are stressing him out. Let me just take over. Not realizing that, no, he actually has a problem and he needs to seek help. And I'm actually enabling the problem by not identifying it.
Or holding them accountable.
So I have to take accountability. Sometimes, it's easy to look at the bigger picture and only blame the abuser, but you get strength as a victim by identifying your role as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not to shame yourself because, I tell anyone,
Oh, we got cut off.
But she made some valid points, and it's kind of like what I was talking about, with my first relationship, committed relationship, because she was brave enough to leave, and we talking about the substance, what I'm saying? That was the play. Right now, I've been, sober for almost 22 years.
Congratulations.
So the relationship I'm in now, we've been together 17 years. My wife, she never seen me drink or nothing. You know what I'm saying? So that's, and I've been working in the field. This is another gift. I've been working in the field for over 17 years. Recovery field, and that's my passion. And so what I'm saying is hope for the ones who's on the other side too.
It is.
It might not be with you,
Right.
but you know what I'm saying? But there is hope, and,
Right.
because now that's to another level what you talking about. So there's
Thanks
levels
for
to
calling
all
back
this
in.
stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Thanks
But
for
it's
calling
still
back
it's
in,
still
caller.
it's trying for the person who's in doing it,
Right.
no matter what. You can't downplay their pain.
Right.
So, what their pain is what their pain is.
Right.
And you can't say, oh, it's just that or it's just this. So,
Hurt people hurt people.
yeah.
Well, caller, thanks for calling back in. I know we were disconnected. And I think your last statement was cut off a bit. If you can recap that last thing that you stated about accountability for yourself, if you can repeat that for us. Can you hear me?
I can, hold on. Okay, can you repeat that?
When you talked about your role and being accountable for your role, can you speak on that again?
Okay, I'm having a bad connection. One more time, I'm sorry.
All right, can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Okay, when you talked about you had to take some accountability for your role in the relationship and the domestic abuse, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so part of my healing process was getting out of the mindset that I played no role. In therapy, I discovered that loving someone blindly is dangerous. So to identify, that you must have reasons why you love this person, and that person must meet those reasons. That was my first accountability. I did not even have reasons. And when I did look back, what were those reasons? How was he loving me? Why was I giving him so much love? Was he deserving of all the love that I was giving him? Outside of the title and the children, there wasn't really nothing that I was getting in the relationship. So I had to take accountability that I was just in something just to be in it. It was not self-serving. Accountability also, just identifying that I was not loving myself.
Right.
I started neglecting the things that I like, my interests, for someone else. I started putting someone else before myself. And, even back to the spiritual, it's God, yourself, and then your partner. But I was putting it in the wrong order. I was putting God, my partner, then myself. And you're never supposed to put yourself last before no man.
Yeah,
And
before
so
no
just
person.
identifying those things helped me.
Well, thank you for that. Now, yourself as well as our guest in the studio had both mentioned losing yourself in this process, right?
Mhm.
So it becomes apparent to me that a great indication that there's a little off balance in the relationship, that it may not be serving me. But as you stated, caller, awareness and accountability is needed. But a lot of times, our emotional deflections that we utilize keep us from being accountable to ourselves, right?
Nate, I want to say something on that note. Well, I've been transparent about my situations, right? And that's what we have to do to get healing. You have to take what we call the man in the mirror and take a look at that guy, right? And that's how we get better. See, because I have worked on myself over the last 21 odd years. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just by hospitality that you get better.
Right.
It takes work, and work is not comfortable.
At all.
It's not comfortable. So what I'm saying is the guy that you see here is a guy that did a lot of work. Not perfect, but I'm practicing.
Right.
So it takes work on both parties, and it's going to take work for the kids. It's going to take work for all involved.
So what I'm hearing is, as a result of the domestic violence, there's a mental health piece that needs to be addressed,
Yes.
because we're talking about trauma.
Trauma.
And sometimes at its worst. And what I mean by that is not the severity of the abuse or the violence or anything like that, but when you talk about matters of the heart, when you invested yourself into a situation and then it gets broken, right? The trauma is doubled up,
Yes.
right? Because it's that, how could I done this to myself type of thing. I should have known better. And then it's that, well, it ain't my fault, it's him, or her, right? So trauma in itself, once we get some accountability, we got to address that trauma, not only in us, but those who witness it. Our kids, sometimes our family members, if they're close to us, they lived it as well,
Right.
right? And if you're anything like me, I'm the big brother, I'm the big uncle, I'm that guy, right? So if it happened in my family, you call on me, I'm going to straighten that.
So
But
that
if
puts
you-
guys
but-
like you and I
In
in
jeopardy.
a precarious situation.
But what happens is, for the person, I think we dropped our caller again. I'll let her know to call back. What happens is, when you got that protective nature in yourself for your family members, right? That particular person may be adverse to informing you,
Right.
right?
Don't
Because-
tell this person.
But it's
in the
really
family.
not
Yeah.
about the fear of what they're going to do. It's really about, I don't want to seem like a failure in that person's eyes,
Very true.
right? Or, that's the big one,
Yeah.
right? I don't want to seem like a failure in that person's eyes, and I don't want them to rescue me from something I should have been able to rescue myself
Right. Or fear that
Right.
you might go back and then
Yeah,
you cause
you're
all
right.
of this and now you're
'Cause
at
that
odds.
happens. That
Yes,
happens.
yes,
That
yes,
happens a
yes.
lot.
Let me tell you what
Yes.
happened to me, Nate. I got to share this then. When I was 10 years old, never forget it. I came over Eastgate summer day because I've been going over there most of my life. My family stayed there, so I'm coming over there for the summer. And as I pull up, I see my favorite female cousin, like a sister who me and her grew up together. I see her and her boyfriend, who's now her oldest child's father. And we was teenage. They was teenagers at the time, young teenagers, and it seemed like that he was beating her up. To me, this was from my point of view. Later on, I found out she done jumped on him. So anyway, I jumped on his back. I'm a little guy.
Right.
I jumped on his back, and then she said, "Get off of him." She told me to get off of him. So, and then her brothers, like she got brothers who trained to go, and they was like, "That's why we don't get involved."
Well, I had a situation that was really crazy. I had a sister who was dating a foreign gentleman. Well, I use the term gentleman lightly. A foreign guy. And their abuse, he was from Bolivia.
Okay.
So they were really abusive to their women. And you talked about cigarettes and stuff like that. He would actually put the cigarettes out on her skin. Not just touch it with him and burn her, but like dig them in
Oh, she said.
and hold them until the cigarette was actually out,
Yeah.
right? And we lived together. And she would hide this abuse from me because she knew I ain't go like that.
Right.
But one time
Don't incriminate yourself.
one time I witnessed some stuff on the side. I got home early, whatever, and I said, "What the hell went on?" And they told me, and I commenced a whooping dude like he stole something.
But he did.
They called the police, and guess what? I ended up in the car with the handcuffs going to the precinct, and they were standing on the side hugging each other. So well, that fool crazy. You know what I mean?
Hey.
So, but then, they got back together. But it eventually didn't work out.
Well, she
but-
said it.
Yeah, but
She
you don't
said
wanna,
That's why you don't
it's
call
hard
that.
to get.
Yeah.
It's hard. So, like the caller was saying,
See, both
Personal
parties become
respons-
sick now.
Yeah.
Nate, this is a sick thing.
it
It
is.
is.
Yeah,
It is.
it is.
But
It's-
but
it's mental
outside
health.
interference and all that, it
Yeah.
don't work.
Yeah,
It's
listen.
personal accountability by
Right.
somebody in the situation that's gonna end it.
Right.
all seriousness, that's why it takes trauma therapy. It takes someone to get the help that's
Right.
needed. See, this is one thing that we talk about, the elephant in the room. First of all, before I get into this, the guy y'all see keep on going, that's the owner. That's my man Faison. Faison helping us out with the audios and
we working the kinks out.
yeah, we're working the kinks
It's our
out.
first
So
time
y'all
back
see him?
in this studio.
Yeah, we haven't been in the studio for a while, and this is actually a new studio he has.
Yeah.
But we welcome back, and we gonna get it all together. But what I was talking about is the elephant in the room when it comes to trauma is allowing the help to help.
Right.
See, because we can be resistant to the help.
You have to admit that you need help, though.
That's the first
That's
step.
it, yeah. If
That's
you
the first
admit to
step.
it, yes.
But letting the help you,
Yeah.
that's the biggest human condition that, we go all the way to the hospital and tell the doctor what our symptom is. And then we'll say, I don't take that. I don't want that.
Yeah.
Give me the scalpel. I'll operate on myself.
Ah.
Because that's what we do when we say, we do that, metaphorically, when we don't take the help.
Because we want to be in control. That's all.
Control is a myth.
Yeah. So let me ask you something, Pepper. Why are you going through this situation? It's not domestic violence. So what I see is that
It's a conflict.
It's love.
Yeah.
It's what you think love's supposed to be like, or what you're accepting as someone showing you love. It becomes domestic violence once you kind of like get out of it and address it.
Right.
But while you're going through it, it's like, okay, we're in love. We got to figure this out.
And he
Right.
would say, like, you know, you made me so upset, I wouldn't have hit you if I
Made
didn't
you.
love you.
Made you.
Right? And I'm thinking, like,
Right.
okay, I made this person so mad at me that they felt the need to hit me. So I'm like, oh, he must really love me. You know, that's the
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
warped mentality that I did have. I was like, okay, he wouldn't have gotten this angry and lashed out because supposedly he had never done this before with any other female before. So I'm like, oh my God, he must really love me. So let me try to get in line with how he wants me to be.
Now she said something that we're gonna do a little test, right? Now Pepper. Now check this out. I don't want you to do it, but I'm just gonna ask you something, right?
Go ahead.
Pick up that cup. I just said I didn't want you to do it.
Okay, you know what? Listen. Now
So-
listen.
No, I was gonna do a demonstration.
Yeah.
You know
yeah,
what
I'm
I'm
with
going.
you, I'm
Yeah,
with you.
because that's when we start thinking that we have to do something or somebody can make us do something. Nobody made me do anything in my life.
This is true.
Even the trauma that I had as a kid, because I come through trauma as a kid. That never made me do nothing. I thought that did. You know what I'm saying? But
It's an influencer. It's not a maker.
it's an influencer.
Yeah.
It's not a maker. So once we get the help, that's what I'm saying, we start realizing that my control stop at my fingertips.
Right.
And so do others.
Now, let me ask you a question. So, and you don't have to divulge if you don't want to, but I know you've come through and you're a victor,
Yes.
right? Now, you had mentioned your children
Mm-hmm.
were a part of the scenario and how your daughter still struggles a bit.
Right.
How has it been for you as a survivor to continue to thrive while the trauma still hurts other people in your family?
Because I refuse to live in my prison of my past. So I owe it to my children, I owe it to my ancestors, I owe it to my family, I owe it to myself to thrive, to say, hey, even though I went through this, I'm not going to allow it to keep me stuck.
Y'all hear that? I had to stop that because we'll glaze over something.
Yeah, let us say it again.
Say it again. Say it again. Cause hey, listen,
Go all the way back to who you owe it to. Go
Yeah,
all the
who
way
you
back.
owe it
So
to?
I owe it to
Come on now.
my
Back it on up.
ancestors, I owe it to my family, I owe it to my children, I owe it to myself to not allow my circumstances, my past to keep me stuck and stagnant. I have to use that as fuel, as fire to propel me to the next level. And that's what I have been successfully able to do. But I have not been able to do this by myself.
That's
I
right.
have a network
That's
of
right.
people pouring into me. I go to group therapy. I'm willing to speak out about it. I go to personal therapy.
Doing the
I
work.
journal. I meditate. I pray because I know I can't do this by myself. So it's nothing about me doing this by myself because I'm on the shoulders of giants.
Let me ask you something on that note too.
Yes.
Nate, you know where we're going with this because you were willing, and we already established nobody can make me do something, even with the work, right? You're doing the work.
Right.
And you were willing to reach out to someone who's more knowledgeable about the work.
Yes.
Because we can say, okay, I want to do the work, but I don't know what the work is.
Right.
So I had to get somebody to show me how to do the work.
Right.
And then I got to be willing.
Yeah, you got to be open. You
Come
got
on,
to be
come on,
open.
come on.
You got to understand it's going to be hard. It's going to be challenges. You're going to cry. You're going to want to give up. And sometimes I did give up, but I went back because I know that it's essential for me to heal whatever trauma that I have, whatever experience that I have in order to be effective with my children. In any room I'm in, I need to be effective. And I know that I have to heal. And even working for the course, I'm in the domestic violence division. I hear all kind of
Right.
petitions, different things that is just, it's crazy, right? I have to be able to be effective in my position and keep moving. And I know that it's for
That's not
bigger.
your position. That's your calling.
A call, right.
That's your call.
Right. My calling.
Hey, Nate, I'm gonna tell you what Nate called me one day. This is my buddy. This is my friend. I don't use that word lightly. This is my brother and my friend. This guy here called me one day, and I was working in the field. I think I was working in the field for about maybe 5 years or something. And Nate said, "This is your calling. This is not a job.
Right.
This is your calling. You're in your purpose. So that's what you are, in your purpose." Even the young lady on the phone, she in her purpose so expanded because the more A helps B, it helps A the most.
Right. And you have to speak out about it because if you if I kept it to myself, you never know who you're helping. You never
Now-
know who can possibly be affected by you just sharing, possibly get out of a situation because you shared, opposed to just keeping it to yourself. So I feel like it's my obligation to be vulnerable, be open, be transparent, and expose whatever it is. But at the end of the day, you can always get out of it. You can, but you just have to make the
Now
choice.
I want to go back to a point that we talked about briefly earlier, right? And I've heard you say, you know, like I gave up, but then I went back.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
But then we talked about incidents that we witnessed and were part of, that we try to help somebody out, but they went back to it, and so forth and so on. A lot of times when we get to a point where law enforcement is involved, and when that person communicates back to you, it's I'm super sorry,
Right.
right? It takes another level of a bottom. Let's be honest,
Yes.
right? Like I've gotten to this painful place where I gotta do something different.
Right.
But I might stumble a little bit before I get there.
This is true.
I might allow this person back in
Right. Right.
with the intent to see if they've changed.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And the hope and brevity that says, if they change, we're gonna go for it.
Right.
But then the whole damn ceiling falls.
Or they
Right.
might change just for a little bit.
Just for a little
just
bit.
to get you back in, wrap you back in.
Well, let's talk about that. How do you, what was your experience? You don't have to be, you know, too, unless you want to, too very open with it. But I know for a fact, for me, I'm like the old Gladys Knight song. Neither one of us want to be the first to say goodbye.
Right.
You dig what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm gonna keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. You know, the milk carton said it was expired 3 months ago, but I'm still drinking the milk and it's sour as hell.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about those type of experiences, because I know we got some folks out there that may have thought they've gotten to a bottom and may want to call the authorities or may want to take some actions. But just like with drugs, nothing keeps you from using drugs like using more drugs, right?
Right.
So tell us a little bit about that.
I know for me, it was very hard. It took years before I decided to get out of that situation, only because I am hopeful. I was hopeful that he would change, you know, and then he would tell me he would change, and then I would see him changing, but then I would see it easily revert back, and then it's worse. So, you know, don't feel bad if you take a person back, because, you know, at the end of the day, you do want to love this person, and you want to have one of those fairy tale stories where you've been through some stuff and y'all made it out at the end and y'all are a successful couple and you can help others. So that was my visual of us, right? And that was what he said he wanted as well. But at the end of the day, that's not what happened. It just got worse and worse and worse. And before either one of us, because what ended up happening is you either leave each other alone or somebody gets hurt, you know.
And that happens often.
Majority, more often than not.
But we're talking about fatal because you're
Right,
somebody's
exactly.
getting hurt anyway.
Exactly. So it's a situation where, you know what, you can love somebody at a distance. You can let the situation go and keep on going, even though, oh my God, that urge to let them come back and be back in your life. You got to understand that person has not did therapy. You have not done therapy. So you're going to get the same crazy hurricane that you had before, if not worse, you know. So, you know, I definitely understand, like, because I definitely went back a couple times, like more than a couple, because I had that hope that the situation would change and maybe.
So
police involved.
would you relate this to like relapsing on a substance?
It
or
was
something?
exactly like
Same-
relapsing.
just like-
yes,
yeah.
yes.
That's
you go
what I
back,
meant
it's
by
10 times worse.
You don't stop using until you stop using.
Yeah. You
Nothing
gotta-
The only
keep you
thing-
from drugs like drugs.
Like
Right.
using drugs.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Only
that-
thing to
that-
keep you from abuse
It's more abuse.
is more
It's-
abuse.
and that's exactly
Because you
true.
got to get
So,
to a
so
place.
here's the thing, the elephant in the room, like we like to say here, man in the mirror, that in both instances, the substance abuse and the mental health, because that's what it is, the mental health the abuse is grace. Would y'all agree? Because I mean, we can't say we did anything to survive it,
This is true.
right? Because we kept going back.
Yes.
You know, most kept going back to the abuse, right?
Yes.
You know, it's kind of like that song. It feels so good to be loved so bad.
Yes.
Now, one thing I wanna chime in on, and then give you a question. I want to make a comment for those out there listening and watching. there is no pain threshold to pain, right? I know a lot of us, big and bad. You see me in a fight with a bear, help the bear. Don't help me. I got this. You know what I'm saying? I've been through this before. I can handle him or her. You know, my tolerance for pain is a lot greater than you may think. You need to mind your business. You don't know what's going on over here. But trust and believe, everybody can see it.
Yes.
So it's kind of like a friend of mine told me, you know, it's kind of like, just like using drugs, just like a person in a domestic abuse scenario. Please listen to this. It's just like a drunk pissing on himself. Everybody can see it, but only he can feel it. You know, so if you're feeling it, trust that everyone has seen it, and we're just waiting for you to make a decision to get out. And sometimes that decision to get out doesn't mean getting out. It just means reaching out. Because before I can escape, I got to look for some help.
Yes.
Because if I could have got out by myself, I would have been out.
Come on now.
Or I wouldn't have stayed. I wouldn't have got in here in the first place.
Yeah.
Right?
So there was some divine help and also some actual physical help.
Yeah.
So this old
need-
sage
yeah.
once told us, he said what? The people who need people.
Are the luckiest people in the world.
There you go.
No, we would like to say blessed,
Yeah.
but I knew what he meant.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
that.
yeah. And we gotta put a name on it. So Alan Johnson.
Man, I talk about Alan
Man,
Johnson
that-
all the time.
Rest in peace, Mr. Alan
Hey,
Johnson.
look, but the one I love
Yeah.
that he said though, he said the thing about, talking about the help, he's always said the thing about building walls to keep people out, you trap yourself in.
Yeah.
That's a good. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yo, he had a lot of.
Oh man.
This guy helped me in my journey early on, and we got to give him his flowers, right?
Yes, sir.
We gave it to him while he was here, but
We gotta continue.
We got to continue because he
Keep
was,
his legacy
he
alive.
was like
Yeah.
Yoda. He was like Yoda.
Yeah, he was.
He told me in the first year of my recovery from my past and me working on myself, he would always say, "You're doing well." At the time, I had no job. I was sleeping on the couch. He said, "Man, you're doing well," because I was showing up for the help.
Yeah.
I was allowing the help to help me, and he used to always say, "You're doing well."
And I want all the listeners and viewers to understand what he's saying, especially as you relate it to domestic abuse, right? The win is when, you're winning when you decide enough is enough.
Yes.
And when you put the shovel down,
And yeah, so it's not when you call the police, it's not when you walk out the house. You start winning as soon as you say to yourself, enough is enough.
Yes.
Now you're on the winning team.
Yes.
Now you got to find other winners to help you pull out of that situation, because it's kind of like weaving a sweater, right? Weaving, knitting things together. That's a tight knit thing. That trauma, abuse, and all that has entered into a love relationship and masked itself as a part of that love relationship.
Yes.
So if you're anything like me, I love hard.
Yes.
Right. I love you because I plan on being here.
Right.
To death do us part. And I
Right.
mean it.
Right.
But not in that vein. You know what I mean? But we intertwine ourselves to a point where we don't want to see the abuse.
Right.
Or we want to relabel it, place it in a place where, okay, you hurt me, but I'm going to give you another shot at this
Yeah.
because I believe in you.
Right.
But in that statement, did you ever think, do you believe in yourself?
I did until the end, honestly, because he had so much confidence. So I felt like he was believing in himself, right? But there's something going on with me, right? So I felt like and he would always tell me I was the problem. So no, I didn't feel that way until the end. I'm like, I need you to have that same energy, that same enthusiasm that I have, the vision that I have of you. I need you to have that internally, because if you had that, then you wouldn't try to hurt me, So
Right.
yeah, I didn't see it until the end.
Another question. At the end, was there ever a moment, even when you've been separated,
Uh-huh.
you might get that peace when you by yourself and ask yourself, was I better over there? Now
Hell
I'm feeling
no.
kind of
Hell
lonely.
no.
Okay, but have you
No.
ever had a
Because
situation?
you're not sick anymore.
Right.
Yeah,
no, but I'm
no.
saying before you got to the place of where you are now,
Before I got to
while
the
you were
place.
going through the process,
Yeah.
was there ever a time when you questioned your
I
decision?
I did because I felt like, okay, I can go back in it and I'll be stronger now because I have more self-esteem. I have more self-worth. You know, I can add more boundaries to the situation. So I figured like, hey, I can figure this out. But then I thought in my head like, no, because you're doing the work. He's not doing the work. So it's going to be the same situation or if not worse. You know,
Did you
so-
come up that with yourself or did you have help?
I had help. I
Okay.
had a nonprofit organization called My Sister's Place because that's what I was referred to by my attorney in the courts. And you know, I had my therapy. I had group sessions where other women would talk about their abuse. And I was like, I read books, and it was a situation where, oh my God, I'm not by myself. And then I had resources, so I could go and get some, you know, food assistance or clothing assistance or just stipends just to help me out because a lot of times people stay in situations because one, they've allowed this person to have all this power. Now they don't have any resources, but there are a lot of resources out there for men and women that are dealing with domestic relations, domestic violence situations, so they don't have to stay.
Now you mentioned My Sister's Place, and I want you just to, you know, anything that you know about, because I know you work in the domestic court right now, and I know that there's someone listening right now that is either experiencing this
Right.
in the start, in the middle, or at the end.
Right.
Can you name just a few of those places where you can reach out for some help?
I definitely will reach out to My Sister's Place that's in DC. They're a nonprofit organization. I would reach out to Catholic Charities. They're a nonprofit organization. I would reach out to your local church. I attend First Baptist of Glen Arden. They have different type of classes where you can heal if you've been through things like that. I will reach out online. They have different organizations where you can do, if you want to be anonymous, you don't want to be out there giving your name, and they have support groups where they can help you. So those are my suggestions.
I want you to go back to say that about the name piece, because I know a lot of time when we coming through something, it's a veil of shame
It is.
that we put on ourselves.
is.
Like when me shared a little bit tonight to the masses, and what people do, they have their perception of the issue, you know, and that's their stuff.
Right.
You know, they do no investigation, but they just have a perception
Everybody
because
got-
it's a
everybody got
stigma.
something to say.
It's a stigma. It's a stigma.
It
But
is.
say
On
it again
everything,
about
yeah.
the help, how
But-
you don't have to.
You don't have to disclose your information. You don't have to disclose your first. You don't have to disclose your government name. You don't even have to disclose anything about yourself. Just say, "Hey, I'm in a situation. I'm hurting. I am being abused by whatever the person, the male, female, whoever it is." You know, just reach out to those organizations because it's not required that you put your information out there because it is embarrassing. Like I said, only reason I even told my family was because my attorney said, "Hey, we're gonna have to put this on the record," and my family is very supportive, so they were there through the testimony. So it's very important because you will look at me and you'll see the black eye blues. I'm like, oh, I just I play sports or I hit myself with something. I make excuses for it, but it was
That's
very.
the I feel.
I never fail. I just said I hit myself with the
Edge of the
cabinet.
door
Right.
and
I
all
ran
that.
into something. I'm clumsy. I have all these bruises on me. I will wear turtlenecks in the summertime and just to cover the stuff up
Yeah.
because I had to dress professional. I couldn't
Yeah.
wear shorts because I'm light, so you'll see my bruises.
Yeah.
And I will cover it up. I wear makeup, and they like, "What's going on with you?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just whatever. I'm sleeping."
Now, for all those judgmental people, right? We all had vices. I don't care who you are. You got a vice. And here, man, in the mirror, we use the THEE because what we do here, we look at ourselves.
Right.
We look at ourselves because the healing is taking a look at you.
Right.
The healing ain't what other people did, and because Nate said it very eloquently earlier when he talking about somebody actually urinate on themselves and waiting for somebody else to really feel it, because basically that's what it is. But nobody else is gonna feel it, right? But for everyone, if you don't take a look at your situation, see, because we on some healing over here.
Right. This is
Over
true.
here, we doing some healing, and we not at that moment. Like sometimes people want to put you in a picture, and this is an action movie.
It's a lifelong
Yeah,
journey.
yeah.
It's a lifelong journey. This
Now-
healing thing
now
does not
speaking on
stop.
that healing thing, I want to ask you a question because you mentioned that your family only were alerted to this
Because of the legal matter.
at the legal situation.
they have-
Let's talk about for a minute their reaction, how you felt, and what transpired between you and your family as a result. Because I know a lot of people are afraid to go to the family because of certain things. But tell us how you got through that and what actually took place.
Well,
took
my
place.
family, my mom, she cried. But she, moms have that intuition. So she felt like something wasn't right because he would blow up like verbally.
In front of
have
her.
Yeah, in front of her.
As he got to start feeling himself.
Right, but I would always make excuses. But she kind of felt it. My sisters could kind of feel it. But once I had actually exposed it, it was a situation like, how come you didn't come tell us? Why you didn't trust us to let us know? We could have got you out of this situation. But I didn't want to get out of the situation.
Come on now.
I wanted us, he and I, to heal the situation, so we wouldn't even have to expose what was going on, but it just kept getting worse where I had to basically call it out on his head, right? So they were very disappointed. They were mad, angry at him. They were upset with me, mad at me, but then at the same time they showed me a lot of empathy, sympathy, because they felt I had already went through a lot. So they had more love and compassion, but at the end of the day they just didn't understand how come I didn't speak up before then.
So
And what was your answer to them? Your actual answer
I told them
to
I
them?
was embarrassed. I
Yeah.
said I was embarrassed.
That's what I want to
She
hear.
been
I
doing the
was
work.
embarrassed.
That's what I
Yeah, I
wanna
was
hear.
embarrassed,
Look,
y'all.
I want to hear.
I was
Because-
ashamed.
There you
I
go.
was embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, I did not think this could happen to me, and it was happening to me. So I was in disbelief that it was even transpiring. But I was more so ashamed because.
So I want my viewers to hear this, though. I want my viewers to hear this, and I interject. Forgive me, but I interject because points are being made.
Right.
I want my viewers to hear this. That part of the how-to is her sharing it and exposing the ugly thing, right?
Right.
So it's kind of like what we have heard before, Nate. It says, my sickness grows in the dark, but it dies in the light of exposure.
Yes.
So this is part of the how-to, y'all.
Right. Now you just stated that your family were mad, angry to
Right.
a point, but they were loving because
Yes.
they're your family.
Yes.
But how did you feel when they responded, and then how did it grow to where you are now?
Well, when initially I felt like a failure. I felt like I had another relationship that I failed. I felt that I was an adult and I stayed in this situation even though I know it was extremely toxic and now violent. So I had to wrestle with that and I had to forgive myself. That was the turning point. I was like, okay, you made those decisions. You know why you made those decisions. Going forward, will I make those decisions? No. But it was hindsight, no. But I had to go through that. And now I'm at a point where, like I said, it's a lifetime journey. I'm still in therapy. I still speak out. I still journal. I do a lot of vision boards. I manifest things. And I know that I have a bigger purpose than my pain. And I'm allowing my pain to push me into my purpose. And like I said, not allow it to keep me stagnant or stuck. But it's also surrounding yourself with inspirational people that's going to pour into you and say, hey, you know what, you had this going on, but I don't care. I love you. I want you to be okay, and that's
And
it.
you said something again that should be highlighted. That the road to recovery is always under construction.
It's
Always.
always.
Not sometimes.
Always.
Under construction.
Always.
So look, I always like to say for myself, I said I always got to do the maintenance on this old house.
Always.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to commend yourself and the caller because I know, as effective you're doing the work, it makes it a lot easier to share
Right.
because you've eclipsed some of the pain and you've got some methods and tools now
Right.
to help you work through your day-to-day emotional
Nate,
journey.
you ain't saying your thing, Nate.
What's that?
It take courage.
Oh, that's what I'm going at. Okay, let me get there now. Let me get there. So now that you got some tools and all these things and all this help and all that, but prior to getting there,
It took some.
right, it took something, right? So we can all experience pain,
Right.
but it takes courage,
There you go. There
right?
you go.
Which is the ability to go on even through the most difficult of times,
Yes.
right?
With fear.
With
In the-
fear
in
in
the-
your face.
yes.
Do it scared. Do it scared.
Right.
Do it
Still,
scared.
you got to do it scared.
Do
You
it
got to
scared.
go forward. But here's the message that I want everyone to take from your story and from the callers. That is life on the other side.
It is.
That's-
A
that's-
Because I
beautiful-
know why you're going through it.
That's
Right.
it.
It seems like you're in a dark
Dark,
place.
yes.
There ain't no light coming in this room.
Yeah.
I can't get out.
It's doable.
It is doable, but here's the big thing, especially if you got a big family or a loving family,
Mm-hmm.
right? You mentioned about being embarrassed and all that. Some of those emotional missteps that we take, and then the boundaries that we put around our mistakes, like you talk about building a wall and walling yourself in,
Yeah.
we end up doing that like second nature because no one wants to fail
Right.
on anything.
Right.
Especially if, like in your case, you said, you know, your friend, your gentleman blew up a lot in public, and then you had to kind of make an excuse for their
Right.
behavior.
Right.
That's building bricks into that same wall. That's walling you in.
Well,
So
what,
if you find yourself-
what did he say about that, Nate?
But if you find yourself in a position where I got to defend someone else at my expense,
Yeah.
there needs to be an exit door
Yes.
because it's only going to get worse.
Well,
Yes. This is
on,
true.
and that's a segue into what I was going to say, though, Nate. But yeah, thank you. Back to Alan Johnson. We got to do his most famous quote. He said, "A person who what he said, a person wrapped up in itself is in a very
small package.
in a very small package."
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah,
Yeah, that was one of his
yeah.
most famous ones.
I like that.
He said, no, he didn't say a small package. He said a
Very
very,
small
a
package.
very small.
And then he would say, "You can't tell your help how to help you."
You can't tell
See,
you how
that's
to-
the big
That's
thing.
the big one.
Because see, once we expose, we still want to have,
Control, like she said.
well, not so much control. We still want to clean up.
But that's a form
by
of it.
throwing control in there. But
Yeah.
what we're really trying to do is resolve our embarrassment and let people know I wasn't as bad in this thing. See my lack of accountability.
That's pride. That's pride.
Well, even beyond that, it's my lack of accountability. See, I don't want to take my part.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say it wasn't as bad as y'all think it is.
Like the
Or
call,
was,
like the caller
like the
did.
caller was saying.
But she took her part.
Yeah.
And
but
I like
that
that.
normally
Yeah.
happens after you start doing
Do
the
some work. Yeah, that's
because
later.
while you're in it,
Yeah.
you'll make more excuses for the abuser
This is true.
than you will yourself.
This
Yeah.
is true.
Because the will to expose
Cause it's kind of like
exposes the lack of activity in me.
Yes.
it's kind of like the alcoholic saying, I only drink wine. I don't drink.
I only drink on Friday.
Yeah, yeah. But every Friday you show you.
You show your ass. So tell me, Pepper, our call we dropped, so haven't been able to get her back on yet, but we're hoping to be able to do that. Tell me, Pepper, a little bit about in those situations when you were making the excuses. How did you feel?
I felt like because I love him that I needed to make excuses because I needed to cover his sins. I needed to cover his shortcomings. So I felt like I was doing the loyal thing. I was being loyal to him even though I wasn't being loyal to myself. So that's how I felt during it. And then the years passed and I started to get angry with myself because I'm like, why are you still going through this, right? But honestly, I believe it was because I had low self-esteem, daddy issues, so this was going to be my protector and I'm going to protect him, right?
But now that's hindsight.
Right, that's hindsight. That's
Yeah,
hindsight.
yeah. That's 2020 hindsight.
Right.
So let me make this point, because I have a saying that mental health is just like physical health, right? if you belong to an HMO,
Right.
now, I have this argument with people quite often. I'm in the healthcare business as
Okay.
well, right? So when I'm selling insurance and I'm advising somebody on insurance, you know, they tell me, well, I don't like HMOs. They always in my business. They want me to come in and get checked in. I ain't even sick. I'd rather have a PPO. I pick my own doctor. I call him. I get a referral to his buddy, and I'm good. And I always tell people, and this may sound a little racist, but I'm going to say it. If you black in America, you need an HMO because it stands for Health Maintenance Organization. See, I don't need to see my doctor when I'm sick.
Right.
I need to see my doctor
For preventative care.
so I don't become
Yes.
sick
Yes.
or as sick.
Yes.
So, from a mental health perspective, if you black in America, you need some mental health assistance.
I agree.
Okay? Because our mere existence in this society is traumatic
Right.
from birth.
Right.
Okay? So, if I'm not in tune with me as an individual, when things like domestic violence and other problems in my life show up, I'm the first one that's lost,
Yes. I agree.
right? Because I don't have, and you mentioned esteem, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us believe we have high esteem because we talk, because we're visual and we're around people and all that. That's not it. That just means you are popular.
Right.
It don't mean you got esteem. Wait till is a chance where you need to stand up for yourself.
Right.
You know, wait till you got an opportunity to really show self-love.
Right.
That you'll understand that how I view myself shows up in how I love myself,
This is true.
right? And how I love myself shows up in how I allow people to love me.
Yes.
Because we teach people how to treat us.
Yes.
sir.
This
Yes,
is
sir.
true.
Not by what we do as much as what we're allowed to be done to us.
Right.
Right? So as the caller had said, when I take accountability for the part I play, it might not be that I participate in the argument, that I fight back or whatever. But if I'm not loving myself, I'll back up. I'll make this point. When I talk about parenting, you heard me say this before, I'm writing a book on parenting. When I talk about parenting, I always ask people, when did the idea of parenting start? And they always go, when the baby was born. Now we're parents. No. It started right before you had sex.
Right.
You're dating a person, and you may or may not like their behavior, but you're going to lay down with them, procreate, and now have that bad behavior induced on yourself and your new child.
Yes.
Right? So when do I become good enough for a relationship?
But see, you talking about work.
Hold on.
Being
hold on.
done.
Hold
That's
on,
your pickup rope.
No. I'm going back before that.
Right.
Right? So when we look at how we relate to people, right? Most times in the African American community, we relate to people at a level that we don't relate to ourselves on. Right? We look for partners that provide us with things we haven't provided ourselves.
Right.
If I'm low income, I want someone with higher income. If I'm dark, I want someone lighter. If I'm tall, I want someone shorter. If I'm short, I want someone taller. We're always looking for someone to add to us at a level of which we cannot or reserve to do for ourselves.
Right.
It's okay to be attractive and all that type of stuff, but it's dangerous when there's some things I can provide for myself,
Right.
but I relegate them to others to provide for me.
What is you ever heard the word self-esteem?
That's what we're talking
What's
about.
what's the core word?
Self.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's what we're talking about.
Nobody else can
Yeah.
give it to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
self.
You have to
So-
esteem yourself.
This
So,
is true.
so here's the problem with that, though. Theoretically, from the dawn of African Americans, the first thing we were robbed of was our self-worth.
Yes.
Yes.
And over time,
Dignity. Yes.
even now,
Become normal.
understanding
Yeah.
media, social media, how we communicate, receive information, all that, how we do that and how we participate in those things have a lot to do with our self-worth, right?
Yes.
How we're entertained, how we're educated has a lot to do with how we feel about ourselves. because you get a lot of kids committing suicide and all that over social media,
Yes.
likes, dislikes.
Yes.
If I love myself, I can care less about what you think. Now that's a hard hill to climb
Yes.
because likes are important.
Yes.
I want to be liked, right? I really do want to be liked. But I've gotten to a place in my old ass life to say, you ain't gotta like me.
Those likes don't add value to
Because
you.
I love
you
me.
already, yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I love me. So whether you like me or not, it's a plus or a minus. But I ain't gonna jump over the damn roof because you don't like me.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you, it's your loss, not mine. But I had to grow to that.
Right.
But the issue is, we don't teach our youth, our young ones, our children, self-awareness
Right.
enough to know that I have worth.
Right.
And that's by design. Even today in education, where they're using CRT and all that to move African American studies out of our educational system,
Yes.
because they don't want us to have, as black
Identity.
people, self-worth.
Well, you know, on that note, now I remember going to the Poconos, right? And me and my wife we've been taking trips up there for a while, but to get up there, you gotta go down these, those dark roads, them real thin dark roads.
Yes.
But we actually went through there a couple times during the day, and we would see an old barn out there, look tore down and everything, and all this field and all. And I said, why do you think they kept that barn there? Because they understand the importance of history. That old barn probably was something that the old people back in those days carved their name in there when they was little kids, probably got from their great, probably in the 1700s. They ain't gonna tear it down because they can reach back and take roots, because once you plant a seed, before the seed grows up to reach the sun, it grows down first to take root.
But the roots are seeking nourishment because the seed got to have roots to grow.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But the point is, you need the roots.
Yeah, you got to have it.
It takes and get a firm grip
But
on.
it takes what, though? It takes courage.
Oh, it takes courage.
Because the seed got to have courage.
Because here's the hit. Once it take root, then even though the stem is fragile, have anybody ever thought about how did that stem get through patted down rocks and ground? Because once it come up to the light, you can just touch it and it break.
Yes.
But how did it get through the patted down rocks and ground? And that's what we talking about, us being fragile, right? But once you start striving for the light, huh?
You can get there.
Come on.
You're going to grow up.
Come
You're
on,
gonna
man.
grow up. So I want to just commend Miss Pepper and our caller to say that you guys are inspirational. You ladies are very inspirational. And it's not so much that you've been through domestic violence and now you didn't let that stop you from thriving, or it is the engine, it is the gas in the engine to keep you thriving. For me, it's the freedom that it's given you to expose it.
Yes.
So I want to commend you because I know a lot of people that have survived but want to keep it to themselves because they're still embarrassed about it happening, right? I got through it, I don't want to revisit it. Leave that over there in the corner.
Right.
Leave my business alone. But what I want to say to that individual is you're still living in it, right? You have not fully recovered.
Let your life be a motion picture. Don't be a still.
Don't be a still frame.
Yeah, don't be a
Yeah.
still picture.
Don't be a still
Let it be a
frame.
motion
Be a
picture.
motion
Huh?
picture.
Move.
Keep it moving.
Yeah.
Because we got to understand that we don't have no business.
Right.
I don't have no business. My whole life takes place in front of the entire world.
Yes.
I only call it my business because it ain't turning out the way I want it to. Because guess what? When I get what I want to show it to everybody.
Yes.
Now you ain't got
You
no
know what I'm
business.
saying? That's
Yeah.
a business when it's right. But when it's wrong,
Yeah.
mind your business. Get out of mind.
Yeah, all that.
Oh, come on now. Come on now. Let's be real.
Yeah.
So I want to commend you guys for not having any business today.
Thank you
Right.
for providing us this platform to be able to share, and I hope it helps.
Now
that's
we are
really-
live on Facebook. and we're also dropping on YouTube.
Okay, awesome.
So I'll send you the clip, and you'll be able to share it with whomever.
Please.
But I got over a couple thousand folk. They all gonna get this blast, right? Because domestic violence is just that. It didn't say man against woman and woman against man, woman against woman, man
Right.
against man.
Right.
Because I've been availed to recently same-sex domestic violence.
Yes.
But what I understand is the story that you just exposed, the story that the caller exposed, does not have a gender.
It doesn't.
Okay?
It doesn't.
Because I've seen two females
Mm-hmm.
go through the same thing.
Right.
I've seen two males go through the same thing. So it's not just a heterosexual piece.
This is true.
Domestic violence. I've seen strangers be violent domestically against other strangers,
Yes.
neighbor against neighbor,
Yes.
things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So
So it don't have to be a relationship based.
well,
thing.
the thing is,
Yeah.
when you talk domestically, it basically means home based,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's home based violence, right?
Hey, look. Where if we look at it, just overall, the whole household, you know what I'm saying, is being abused.
Affected, yes.
It's being traumatized.
It is.
Every member,
And-
even the dog and the cat. No, trust me, because
Yeah.
I've seen situations where
Yeah.
the couple is arguing and the dog will start howling, or the cat will start scratching on furniture
It feels the energy.
and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
Tommy
Yeah.
Davis. Tommy
Energy.
Davis did a skit. I just went to see him with Cat Williams the other week, and he did a skit about the dog when the kids get ready to get a spanking. The dog say, "Oh, get out!" so the dog says he felt the butt will be coming.
Well, I'll tell you my personal experience. I used to raise mastiffs, right? Then I started raising cane corsals. But I had a mastiff that was huge. He was 5'11", 206 pounds.
Yeah, that's
right?
That's a
Well,
giant.
when my former spouse and I would argue, like we get nose to nose going at it, he would literally take his big body and get in between us, and whoever was the loudest, he would use his body to push us apart. And he would howl loud, like shake the windows, howl, because he didn't want us arguing,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because he knew that it could escalate to something. I'm saying this in hindsight.
Right.
But then I was like, if you don't get your big ass out the way. But then he would actually push me out the room. Literally. Leave me out of the room. She might be still arguing, but he didn't push me out the room. And then it got to the point where she arguing by herself, me and the dog, and went for a walk. But it affects, as you said, Boo, it affects everyone.
Yes.
Now, it's not only, domestic violence affects everyone.
Even
that
your neighbors.
You become in contact
How about
with.
this? Even your neighbors.
Your neighbors, your co-workers,
because
everybody.
Just imagine you a neighbor, and you know she getting whooped over there, right? And
You feel some kind of way.
Yeah,
You can't help it.
Yeah, you can't help it. But you call. You probably most neighbors call the police. Let's keep it real. We got citizens. They're not snitching. They call the police because they don't want no homicide in their neighborhood.
Right.
And it's disturbing the peace. And they're affected.
Yeah.
So it's more than the person who's getting abused. But the person who's getting abused has to love theirself enough to say, man, enough is enough. That's what it is in any recovery. When you start loving yourself,
Yeah.
then like Nate said, there's certain things you're not gonna do to
Not
yourself.
gonna tolerate.
You're not gonna do yourself. Let me ask you this: if something that you love to eat, what's your favorite food?
Ooh, my favorite food is chicken and dressing.
Okay, say chicken and dressing,
Chicken
right?
dressing.
Let's say every
I'm
time.
country.
Let's
Chicken
say every time it's cooked just the way you like it.
Yes.
Let's say every time you eat that chicken and dressing, it breaks you out in sores and boils that hurt, right? And then it clogs your windpipe up. You can barely breathe, but you continue to eat it.
Because it tastes good.
Yeah, you know what? I probably would. I was trying to get an EpiPen or something, try to figure out how.
But see, that's how it is. in
That
domestic
is.
violence.
That is.
Right?
Yeah, I'm
That
like,
is.
exactly
I
what
gotta
that
get some
is.
pills, get some shots, whatever I need
But
to
you
do
know
That
what?
to
is.
eat this.
That
I'm
is.
hungry.
Here's what I've noticed, right? And we said this a little bit in the comments earlier. Nobody wants to be a failure,
Right,
especially exposed as a failure.
right.
So that thought may have you hanging on, wishing, hoping, and praying for a change. It may even have you doing some stuff. I'm gonna go to church more.
Yes.
I'm gonna try to get him in church,
Yes,
her in church.
yes.
I'm gonna be good.
Right.
Things they said I need to do, I'm gonna change,
Yes.
and all this type of things. But what I've noticed is the abuse gets worse.
Yes.
It doesn't get better
This is true.
because those things were never the reason for the abuse to start with,
This is true.
right? And I know as a survivor myself and a participatory person, because it goes both ways, that in order for me to have a better life, I got to be a better person.
Yes.
But first of all, I got to understand that the life I'm leading can be better.
Yes.
Because a lot of us believe
If
the
I don't
life I
believe it,
got
yeah.
is what I got.
Yeah. Oh, this is all that I'm worth.
All I'm worth.
So that's why I said self-love is the key.
Big
It
thing.
is.
It's the key. I mean,
right.
you know, sometimes the world may think that because you're loving yourself that you're selfish. No. Because I have nothing to give you
Right.
if I don't pour it into
Your
me.
cup needs to be full
Come
before
on,
you
come
can
on,
pour
come
into
on,
someone else.
come
And
on.
it has to always be replenished.
It's
at
gotta
the
be
same
replenished,
time.
yeah.
Yes. You cannot
Yeah.
pour from an empty cup at all.
Can I
Yes,
pour it?
yes. So I want to just make this comment. I know we got about 15 minutes left. Okay. I don't want anyone out there in the ether, either listening to us or viewing, to take away that domestic violence is something that should exist.
Right.
It does exist.
It does.
And if you're in it, regardless of how you feel about it, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your partner, man, woman, chick, or child, just know that life can be better.
It can.
And it starts with just a thought.
Yes.
If I can think that it can be better, I'm already on the path to it becoming better.
Yes.
Don't feel like I tried something that didn't work. I'm afraid to try something. I'm afraid to be exposed. Everybody already knows, baby.
Yes.
It
We're
takes
just
courage.
waiting for you
Right.
It takes
to
courage.
show up.
It does.
It takes courage, and courage is the ability to go on in spite of. Right? It don't have to feel good. It don't have to look good. It don't even have to be good. It can be all of those things.
Right.
But the one thing you need to know is change you must, or die you will.
Yes. I like that.
And on that note, you know, we got time, but we have to address the elephant in the room again. And it's the fact is we're not promoting that it's the victim's fault.
Correct.
So we want to make sure that you guys don't misconstrue that. And because we're saying that there's some accountability for the person who's being victimized. Just like you would not get mad at a cancer patient if they're resembling some effects of the cancer, right?
Right.
It's the same concept. You know, sick is sick.
Right.
And it's a form of sickness in the whole qualm of it.
Yes.
Not just, you know, the person we already established that is being allowed, but we don't want you to think the victim is a participant. They didn't actually get there, but whoop.
Right.
They didn't actually be spit on and all the stuff.
Right.
Yeah, we're not victim shaming.
Yeah, we're not
Right.
victim shaming.
All we're saying is, as a victim, we all play a role in every situation we find ourselves in.
Yes.
I'm not saying you're the cause of it,
Right.
Right.
but you are a contributing and participating party.
Right.
Ineffective, no actions towards getting better
and we telling you it's a way out.
Yeah,
That's all
there's
we
a
said.
way out.
We said look at her and the
It
caller
is,
on the phone.
it is.
It's a way out, and we giving you that hope. We're gonna reach and throw this lifeline to you to say you can get out of there and live a productive life.
can.
Just like what I told you I went through. I'm living a productive life now.
Yes.
You know what I'm
Now,
saying?
I'm going to ask Miss Pepper one more time to name those places where you can reach out and get some help.
Yeah.
Everybody can reach out and get some help. I don't care where you are in the spectrum. If you are the abuser, you can too reach out and get some help.
Because we done told you that we have to allow the help to help us, right?
Right.
And that's what she did. So Nate is right on point because we want the viewers to know where to go.
Tell us again some of the places.
So, like I mentioned, My Sister's Place is a nonprofit organization that helps individuals that have been through domestic violence. Also, Catholic Charities is a nonprofit organization. They assist. Also, look at your local church community. Even go outside of your local church because they have different resources. My particular church is First Baptist of Glen Arden, and they have a lot of different resources for that. You can also look online, just Google domestic
That's right.
violence, and then you can, actually participate. You can be anonymous in various different groups. You can, just listen. You don't even have to talk if that's something you just need the extra support. They also have different organizations that have, support groups that you can actually physically go in there and listen to other people. You don't have to give your name. You don't have to expose who you are. You don't even have to mention the abuser's name. But help is out there. I'm sending you positive energy. You're not alone. Don't feel like you're alone, even though sometimes it feels like you're alone, but you're not alone. You just open your mouth, and I guarantee you help will come there.
I want to just say one other thing too. It's like being sick, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm sick, I'm probably not the best person to heal my sickness.
This is true.
Because if I could heal my sickness, I wouldn't be sick to
Yes,
start with,
what you said, yes.
right?
Yes.
So I know that it could be difficult to reach out for help because of the stigma that comes along with, heart relationships, things of that nature. But I tell you, the pain of holding on is a lot greater than the pain of letting go,
Yes.
right?
Well, I can tell you this. The pain of remaining sane has to be stronger. I mean, hold up. The pain of remaining sane has to be stronger than the fear of change. So if I want to go forward, like you saying, Nate, then I had to fight through the fear.
You do.
I had to fight
Go
through
scared,
it.
go scared.
If I want to
Yeah, I like what she said. She said, "Go scared."
Go scared. I like
Go
that.
scared.
I like
Go
that.
scared.
So I'm gonna steal that one too.
Yeah, you can have it. Go
See-
ahead, you can have it.
We don't want you to believe that you got to be some type of superhero.
Nah,
You don't.
You got to be in some type of headspace to
You
reach
don't.
out for help.
You don't.
fragile.
All you have to know is the way I'm living is not best for me
Yes.
and for mine.
Yes.
Meaning my children, my family, my extended family, my coworkers, my whole life environment,
Your pets.
my pets. The way I'm
Save
living
the pets.
is not conducive to the way I should be living,
Exactly.
right?
So if you guys don't have a picture of how you should be living, then seek out. We got Google now. You can Google anything and look up what's healthy. Look up dictionary words. Healthy. Look up
Whole.
yeah, whole.
Yes.
Look up words.
Self-worth.
Self-worth.
Self-worth, yeah.
So like when I do a group at work, I might sometimes take one word and then we expand on it. So tomorrow I'm a use healthy
Nice. I like it.
and remembrance of you guys.
Now we want to be healthy,
Yeah.
but first of all, we need to know what that means for ourselves.
What it look like? Yeah, what it look like to you?
Because healthy to me ain't the
Might not-
same to you.
That's right.
true.
Right.
What it look like for you?
Because
Individual.
I'm sexy, but my
Uh-oh.
doctor told me I need to lose, about 40 pounds before my birthday. So I started working out, and I done dropped 12, and I'm on my way,
Yes.
and I feel good about myself, even though I thought I was sexy in the beginning.
Right.
Man, I'm super sexy.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying?
love
So it's not even a perception piece. right? If you're a believer in some Bible scriptures, there's this one commandment. I believe they call it the last one, where Jesus said, "Love thy neighbor as you love thyself."
Yeah.
Now, the kicker to that statement is loving thyself.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't love you more than I love me.
Well, she said it earlier.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
done used one of them good slogans. She said, "Hurt people, hurt people."
Yeah,
They
hurt
do.
people hurt people.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if I love me, I can definitely love you real time.
Yes.
As opposed to showering you with gifts,
Right.
showing you my grin and thinking we like each other and so on and so on, hanging out. But when I leave you, I'm like, I can't stand that motherfucker right there. I can't wait till they get off the phone. I can't wait till they get out my car.
I give you a
all
good one.
that.
In the way the world is today, being genuine is like rare, right? So you know, I base myself on being genuine.
Right.
You know, and the people that I allow in my circle, Nate is one of them, right? So we know this for a fact, right? That once you have an experience of knowing what true friends are,
Yes.
or what true love is,
Yes.
can't nobody bring you an artificial one.
This is true.
Because you already know what it looks like
Right.
for you.
Right.
You know what it is, right? So that's being based on reality,
Right.
not based on what I heard or what it looked like to you.
Right.
I'm talking about, man, come on, man. I know pitch from rain.
Right.
Come on.
Well, I know we got 5 more minutes into this thing. So once again, I want to give flowers to the 2 young ladies that came out and exposed and put light on not only their situation, but hopefully on the lives of others that are viewing and listening.
Thank you.
Miss Pepper
Thank
and
you.
our caller. I just want to just say that the title of this podcast session is what I think we should all walk away with. And the title was simply Domestic Violence. That ain't love.
Say it again.
Domestic violence, that ain't love.
That's it.
Okay?
It's not.
I don't care how you dress it up. That there, that ain't love.
That ain't
Because you
it.
put lipstick on a gorilla and put him in a dress with a wig on,
Yeah, he's still a gorilla.
it's still a gorilla.
Yeah. So, as we kind of close out,
We tell people again where we gonna
tell
be.
people again, we are right here.
Come on now.
Same bad time, same bad channel, the last Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. You
Shop.
will get shop.
Yeah.
You will get the man in the mirror.
That's right.
It is the talk show that
Matters.
matters.
That's right.
We always try to bring in guests and topics that are relative to today's life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Life is short. We ain't got time to be
And
playing.
and what's our
Yes.
number one
Yes.
thing? We address what?
We address the elephant in the room. We're going to address the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room today is self-love.
Self-love. That's right.
Let's find it. And if you don't know where it is, find the mirror,
Yeah.
look in it,
Yeah.
and simply say, I love you.
I love you.
That's
yes.
it. That's it.
I love you.
And on that note, that's a great segment to go out. Mr. Blazing yourself. Where's the show gonna be on?
Facebook, Amazing Radio Facebook.
Okay, Blazing Radio,
Blazing Radio
and all of
on Facebook.
the hosts. It will be on our pages too.
Right.
And what's about YouTube for
For you guys, YouTube starting tomorrow.
It will be on YouTube
it will
starting
be
tomorrow.
it'll be on Boo Jones SRB
Yes, sir.
on YouTube.
And we'll be sending the link out to all who link in with us.
Okay, so
All right.
we want to make sure you guys get this information because this is not us. We just the vessels that's carrying it, but it's definitely not us. And you figure that out.
Now let's give these ladies a round of applause and a great hand, and thank them for coming out here, braving the cold, getting on the phone, because I know our caller had 5 kids she needed to put down. All hers are very young. They're all in elementary, I believe, except for I think One just started middle school, but everybody else is elementary.
Yeah.
So she's working it out, you know.
Yes.
And I know
That's a whole nother
Miss
segment.
Pepper got things to work out with her.
Hey,
you know
that's
what
a
I mean?
whole nother
That's a
segment.
whole nother segment.
These women,
Superwoman.
superwomen.
Superwoman.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you want to know Superwoman, just look for a black woman.
Come on,
That's
man.
There ain't a whole lot to it.
That's
And
it.
with that, we about to sign this thing off, man.
Yeah, next month, see you back here last Thursday.
Same bat time,
Tell a friend
same bat
to
channel.
tell another
Tell a
friend.
friend to tell another friend.
That's right.
And tell another friend. And
That
like they
right.
say on that commercial, and so on and